Alright troops, welcome to mission 11. Our last one is Nero. A lot of people seem to hate on this character and think he's basic or not very fun to play, but I've had a blast and I'll hopefully be doing more videos with him in the future and show off some more of the fun stuff he's capable of. The first fight is another Mephesto and Faust combo. You can see last mission for my extended feelings on these turd enemies, but let me summarise. They are awful. But for whatever reason, this one's not too bad. I think it's the static camera. They tend to just float around in places they can't really attack from, and you can lure them onto solid ground easily by running to the opposite side of the arena. On top of that, the Faust takes a bit of time to spawn in, so you can wipe out the Mephistos beforehand. Compared to the usual stuff they throw at you with this enemy, this fight is, miraculously, pretty fair. The strategy doesn't extend past what you can see really. Use charge shots and play patient, abusing the camera so they can't attack. Pretty simple, thankfully. This mission is mostly about Angelos, and with the playstyle I use, the most important thing for those is Devil Trigger. The floating cloaked bastards of the previous fight are not so good for building up meter, but you can muster together a bit from these scarecrows, so the opportunity is not to be overlooked. The first Alto Angelo is a nice little warm-up enemy. Alone, they're no problem since you can basically ignore their attacks. Everything is telegraphed pretty heavily in advance, and staying in the air and keeping pressure up beats basically everything they could ever hope to do. This fight's probably the toughest of the mission. There's a decent swarm of Angelos, and they spawn in such a way that it's hard to isolate them and focus each one down. You've got to stay on your toes and be ready for anything. Getting rid of the Bianco Angelos first makes things a lot easier, so it's what I try to do, but the game doesn't always let you. When there's so many enemies, going for busters is a risk you can't take, so I play it slow with a lot of charge shots and big exceed moves to dish out damage without having to overcommit. With this enemy count, you really have to be fluent with your strategy, since nothing is guaranteed really, and the two types of Angelo are pretty good at covering each other's weaknesses, so you can't focus on playing a certain way. Stay alert, stay reactive, kick some ass. That's the motto. Coming out of this fight, one of the big priorities is to stock up on Devil Trigger for the upcoming boss fight, so I'm trying pretty hard to avoid situations where I need to activate it. Overall, this was a pretty okay amount of meter. I could have built a little bit more before killing him, but it didn't make too much of a difference. You also get a nice chance to build it on some scarecrows before entering the boss arena, so from here, hitting 80% or so isn't hard. Sanctus didn't open as planned. Normally, when you get your first opportunity to damage him, you have just enough time to fit in a showdown and a buster, but I fired my charge shot too late and sent him flying before I got the opportunity to do any melee attacks. This meant I was probably going to need an extra cycle in his second phase, and winging it a bit for what to do in the rest of this one. Sanctus can be a pretty finicky boss. When he's in the air with his shield down, he can be hard to catch up to, and it's really easy to overshoot and go behind him. Devil Trigger totally stalls your air momentum, so you can use it to damage control any bad spacing you might have. This is one of the reasons it's so useful to have a lot coming into the fight, because if you're not stocked up, you won't be able to use it for this as well as putting out damage when you score a knockdown. It was pretty annoying to not come into phase 2 at this exact moment. If I'd done just a tiny bit less damage, I could have used a buster to do a lot more than this and make him start phase 2 on much lower health. Not a big deal, but less than perfect. The introduction of Saviour to phase 2 actually makes things easier, not harder. When you knock his shield off, you no longer have to take the risk of chasing him down, since if you don't, he'll retreat into Saviour and try to punch you, which can be easily countered with a buster, which not only looks cool, but gives you a free combo on him. Even though the window for the counter is huge, it's still a little scary to go for. I always feel like I'm going to second guess myself and miss, but thankfully that never happened. Repeating this cycle a few times is all that's needed. Phase 2 introduces nothing new except a damage opportunity. And that's it for Mission 11. I'll catch you guys next time where I'm busting out Dante. See ya.